You
Yes.
doing?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm very excited. We're doing a lot of press, a lot of preparation for the tour. So
Yeah,
it's
busy
busy
guy.
time.
Busy. So I just have some questions I'm curious about. So I'm going to start with how old were you when you first discovered that you wanted to do this for a living? Like as a child, or like what was your earliest memory that you were like, this is something I want to pursue, you know?
I think as a band, we've never had the dream to become like a rock star or popular band or touring band. It happened step by step, because because we're from Milan, Italy, which is not really rock and roll heaven. So we never had the expectation to can do something more than just a couple of records, maybe a couple of tours in Europe. Never expected to be able to do this for a living or to make it a career. So there was always something we did for the fun because we were living this music, we were breathing this music and playing the practice room every day. So it was just something like a passion, but never expected to become this. So we only realized we could have done it for a living, I think probably when we did our third album, Comalize, which was the album that brought us to a different level as a band and that allowed us to do tours like Odds Fest in America. So maybe in that moment we understood that this was something very serious and we were playing in a different kind of game now, and we weren't just that naive little band from Italy anymore, but more of an international band. And so that was probably the moment we really realized this could be the future for us.
Yeah. Um, so what bands and everything influenced you as a child or whatever growing up that
Yeah, as a kid, we started as with all the classic metal bands from the 80s, like Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth, Pantera, all the classics. And but me and Marco, the bass player, which is the main songwriter, we grew up together since we were like 14, 15 years old. So we were skateboarders. So we were also listening to a lot of the hardcore punk, the early hip hop like Beastie Boys and DMC and all that stuff. And then more into also into the metal. But when we decided to kind of play more seriously, we were a lot influenced by bands like Typo Negative, Paradise Lost, more of the gothier, doomier kind of metal. And so that's why we kind of choose that path for Lacuna Coil in the beginning. But then we've been always very open to different styles. We were listening also the Chili Peppers, Fade No More, like a lot of
yeah,
Primus. Like we never been only metal, only extreme music, but also extreme music.
yeah, that's cool. So if you had not become a vocalist, what do you feel like you would be doing for a living?
Oh. Well, that's hard to say. I mean, obviously in the beginning I was doing a lot of smaller jobs because whatever I could find actually because we were doing the band at the same time. So I was doing delivering with a van or working in a warehouse, very similar. Even Marco was in a restaurant. He was a cook in a restaurant. Christina was working and also with me in the warehouse. Sometimes we were kind of helping each other. If I have this little job, you can come with me. We need another person. And so working part-time, trying to balance the little touring we were doing at the time, the studio and a little bit of the jobs to make a living. So I would always, I think I would always kind of follow a passion and try to work with my passion. Like when I was a skateboarder, I used to work in a skateboard magazine, and my first job, like proper job with a salary, was working for the skateboard magazine. And I was doing a lot of the computer stuff, like writing a lot of translating a lot of the articles and stuff like that. So something with passion, with one of my passions, which I always had a lot. Me and Marco and Christina, we always had a lot of passions for cinema, horror movies, comic books, video games, skateboarding, extreme sports. So one of the passion, I would have tried to follow one of my passions for sure.
Yeah, it's cool to hear how you guys all like grew up with each other. Like, that you have so much tied into this just aside from the music, it's like it was really interesting and it's awesome. And it just how you guys work together so well. And it's interesting to hear, your backstory on how you got there. So it gives everybody like an insight. I like
Yeah,
that a
yeah.
lot. So let's getting back. I have a couple more random questions for you. I want to know
Uh,
what is the most wild or craziest thing that you've experienced in like 20 years. I mean, that's a long time to be with this band. Like there's got to be a couple moments where you're like, wow, that was like interesting, or like, something that like stuck out to you.
yeah, I mean, of course, there's been a lot, but I know one thing was I remember we were in the UK on tour, maybe in Liverpool, I'm not totally sure, but probably in Liverpool. We were parked outside of the venue with the tour bus after the show, so we were just relaxing on the bus, having a beer. And we heard a huge noise on the roof of the bus. So we went outside to see what was going on. And basically, there was a guy. We were parked behind a parking lot with like 5 stories. And this guy was drunk and he fell from the fifth floor of the parking lot into the roof of our tour bus.
Oh
So
my
he was just falling out of the and he landed on the bus and he was fine. He didn't break
Yeah,
anything but he was completely wasted. So the police came and he didn't want to come down because he was drunk.
yeah,
And so the police came and the firefighters came and they stopped us there and brought the stairs to try to have him coming down and convince him to come down. So that was quite weird,
that's
a weird
awesome.
night. And but then we had a lot more, a lot many more. Like I remember we were on tour in America with Rob Zombie.
Oh,
And
nice.
we played a House of Blues in Vegas. And after the show, Rob came to our dressing room and say, "Sorry guys, can I introduce you to my friend Nick? He came and saw the show and really enjoyed it. So you would like to say hello?" I say, "Of course. Give us 5 minutes. We get dressed, and shower, finish the shower, and then." So he came in, and actually his friend Nick was Nicolas Cage, the actor,
That's
and
so cool.
and so we were wondering, why is it really him? Because
You're like,
it was
hey,
kind
Nick. Like,
of. And so we took a picture with him and talked, and we found out he has a son that plays metal in a metal band as well.
that's
And he
cool.
came to the show with his son, and they enjoyed the show. So it was something cool and
Yeah.
unexpected.
That's the best though, when it's unexpected. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know, what are you most looking forward to with your upcoming tour with Machine Head? That's like cool. I feel like that's going to be an awesome tour, and I'm excited to hear about that.
yeah. I mean, we immediately say yes because this is a tour with a lot of friends. There's like obviously Machine Head. We know Rob. Not really well. We didn't know him really well, but we met him several times along the way. And he came to our show on the Bay Area a few years ago. We met him at festivals, but we never really know him really well. But so when the opportunity came, we immediately say yes. And there's also In Flames on the tour, which are longtime friends. We did our first tour with them in Europe in 2001, so we know each other for a long time, and we met many times. And then Arnert as well. They did Odds Fest with us in 2004. So we know the guys as well. So it's like a family reunion. And
Yeah.
we're very excited. We never toured with Machine Head. So it's going to be great to see them every night. We did a song together, collaboration song that just came out with all the vocalists from all the 4 bands on the tour. And so we're very excited. Maybe we'll play the song together, hopefully in one of the shows. And so it's going to be great. I mean, we're very excited also to come back with the new album in America. And we do South America first, and then straight from Mexico, we're gonna fly to the West Coast for starting the tour with Machine Head. So it's gonna be great.
Nice. So, your album's coming out on February 14th, and I want to know what the creative process behind this album, like a little inside peek perspectives and creating it and what your most memorable moment was behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it took us a long time because obviously, as like everybody else, we've been stuck at home for a couple of years during the pandemic, and that kind of changed completely our regular schedule of releasing an album and tour the world for a couple of years, maybe 3 years, and then go back to another record. So we missed all the touring for our record Black Animate, which came out on 2019. So we just right before the pandemic, we've been able to do a tour in North America, a tour in South America, a tour in Europe, and that's it. So it was very unusual for us to stay home for 2 years. And we kind of enjoy it in a way because we had time with our families that we normally don't have. But on the other hand, it was weird to be home and not knowing when we would be able to go back to our routine. So we had that, so we stopped for that. Then we started again with a little bit of touring, and we kind of felt ready to maybe go back and start writing for a new record. But we didn't want to talk about the pandemic. It was something we want to put on our shoulder and just okay, forget it.
Mhm.
We had it, we experienced it, and it's enough.
Yeah, always move
Uh,
forward, you know?
yeah, and so we were looking for something else, and what came to our mind was the sort of observation of how the pandemic affected life after it, how much people changed and shift into a digital world much more than before. Obviously, digital world was already here even before the pandemic, but the pandemic really transformed it and make it much bigger, and especially things like Twitch, Spotify, Netflix, all those have grow a lot because of the pandemic, because of the people staying home. And so we notice how much we are changed and we are so much connected 24/7. We're always with our phone in our hands, looking at the screen. And so we choose the title Sleepless Empire because we say, okay, we have this huge empire with all this technology, possibilities, offerings. But on the other hand, we're always stuck in front of the screen looking at bullshit and being superficial and not enjoying as much our life anymore. So it's not a critic because obviously we do the same. We're also stuck in this kind of, weird space between reality and digital. But we are being older. We're lucky that we got to experience fully the world analog and then switch to digital. While a lot of the newer generation, they only know the digital world, so
Yeah.
they only live with their 24 on online life. And so it's just an observation that gave us I think this is a good topic to start talking about the new record and find a title, find a symbol that represents the record. And from there, obviously, then every song has a little different topic. They're not all talk about the same, but we always need a common theme that runs through the image and atmosphere of the record.
Yeah. And I know you have hosting the Shadow, you collaborated with Randy on that, Randy Blythe. How was that? How did that come about? That's
Basically, we decided to put a couple of guest vocalists on the record because we never had any before, and we only had some guests on guitars, like from lead guitars. We had Miles Kennedy from Alter Bridge doing a lead on one of the previous record. We had Mark from Nothing More doing a lead as well. So we had some guests, but never a vocalist. So we decided to put a couple because we already have two voices in Lacuna Coil, so we didn't want to put too many. But we said we can do a couple and try how it works. And Randy was the first name on the list because we're friends since 2004 when we did Odds together, and then we've toured the world together many times, and we're friends beyond music. We're fans of Lamb of God. He's fans of Lacuna Coil, but we're friends even when he finished a European tour. He come down to Milan and we go out eating together. We have like WhatsApp chats about how much we hate cilantro, how much he loves it, and stupid things like that. So we're friends and family. He's a member of the family. So it was the first name we have to ask Randy, and he was immediately on it and recorded right away, adding some special arrangements on his own, and he did a great job, and we love the result. So it was very spontaneous collaboration for with him.
yeah. And then you also collaborated with Ash Costello too.
Yeah, Ash, we didn't know her personally. We know her through the internet, obviously, but we're label mates as well, but we never got to meet her in person. So we were looking for a female voice that wasn't too clean or too operatic, but something more rock, more rough. And she had the type of voice. So we asked her and she was immediately enthusiastic. She said, I'm a big fan, and so we sent her the tracks and some parts, and she did also some different harmonization on the vocals as well, and she was super enthusiastic. And then we got to do the song as well at Welcome to Rockville and some other American festivals. So it was great to do it right away as soon as it came out, and yeah, so it worked out great right away.
And then, I was wondering who does all what's the inspiration behind the artwork on your album? Who does all of your
Yeah,
artwork?
We have collaborated with an Italian artist called Roberto Toderico. He draws a lot of metal graphics, but also graphics in general. And he had this style that we called medieval, just to give it a feeling, but it's not really medieval. But for us, we envision it like that. So we gave him all the titles of the song lyrics when we had finished the lyrics, but it was very early in the process, so we didn't have all the lyrics ready or the music ready. But we gave him everything we had, and he came up with 12 different designs, one for each song. And we wanted to be very much handmade by a real human, by a real artist that has his own vision on our music. And of course, we tell him what we like, what we don't like, and we work together back and forth. And we love the result. I think it's a very solid artwork and a lot of different drawings. And we even have a little game in the special edition of the CD on the box set. We have two dices, like the Dungeons and Dragon dices,
Yeah.
but instead of the numbers, we had alchemic symbols that Roberto drew, and
Yeah.
every symbol corresponds to a phrase of one of the songs. So he
Oh,
designed like a table, a poster with all the phrases connected to the symbols. You throw the two dices and you connect the two different phrases and combine them. And together they fit. We wrote them in a way that they can fit together.
yeah.
And it's sort of like a little game. We call it the Oracle game. And it's like when you have a fortune cookie at the Chinese restaurant. It's a little philosophical, basic philosophical
Yeah.
sentence that can give you inspiration.
No, I like it. It gives it a nice feel to everything. It ties it all together artistically, and it's really unique. But definitely the artwork was visually captivating as well. So to have the little message with it just makes it so more meaningful.
Yeah,
And
we like to have the complete package. And so for the clothing, we're gonna dress on stage, the scenography, everything needs to be in the mood of the album. Like it's like a movie, this album, when you have a full campaign, all based by on the idea of the movie.
and you said you loved horror movies, so I was wondering, what are your top three?
That's a very hard question. I did an article once where they asked me the top 10, and it was already hard to put the top 10. I can choose one Italian movie. I would say Deep Red from Dario Argento, which is a classic movie from the end of the 70s, which in Italy has become a super cult, but also in America you can find it very easily. Then maybe an older one. I love. Uh, it's it's either the Nightmare or Friday 13 as a classic villain kind of movies, American style. I love the fact that in American horror, like Italian horror is more like a psychological thrilling, and
Mm,
there's not one main evil character. While in American horror, not always, but very often, especially in the past, you had a big character like Jason or Freddy or Hellraiser. All these strong characters. So maybe I would go with of Jason, and then another one. Maybe of the recent one, uh, shoo, 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 uh, the recent one. I like the clown movie.
yeah.
Terrified,
A
Terrified,
Terrifier. Yep.
Terrified. I like that one. Yeah, but I don't have three favorites. But I like
I
to
just, yeah, I just was
base you and
interested to
all.
see.
Yeah, I
Um,
think Terrifier is one of the most interesting recent movies,
mhm.
especially the first one. I really like with the ruthless killer movie. I like it.
What are your creative outlets outside of music? Like, what do you do? You have any other artistic endeavors that you pursue?
Not too many because I don't have a lot of, I take care of a lot of the aspects of the inside management of the band. So it's a lot of work and it takes me a lot of time, but I have a lot of passions like sports, like European soccer. Of course movies and comic books and a lot of other things, but I don't have a lot of time to do. I like sports like extreme sports. I go to the gym, but I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to this. So sometimes I'd like to give more times to. I like to build models. I like to draw a little bit, but I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to that. But I like arts in general. I love to go see a lot of exhibition about arts, visual arts. To try to always be inspired. I like clothing. I like to see sometimes go see fashion shows because here in Milan is a big thing. So sometimes I like to go see it. I like to go to the stadium to see games. I like to do stuff a lot, to keep busy and always be inspired. Collect a lot of posters from comic books, movie posters, photos from signed photos, a lot of different things.
All right. And then, and can you give us a little insight on the song In the Meantime? Like when you were doing that song?
Yeah, yeah, it's one of the first song we released out of the album, and there's the duet with Ash Costello, and yeah, it's kind of a song when you feel stuck in the moment, when you feel stuck and you don't know what direction to go, and we always like to write the lyrics in a way that people can always kind of give it their own interpretation, but there is always a starting point that it's usually something that happened to us personally, and then we transform it in a way that, because every time I talk with fans about lyrics, they always come up with the version of the lyrics that is completely different than what we meant when we wrote it. But it's the good thing, I think it's the great thing about music is that we put it out there and it's there for people to grab and do whatever they want with it, and give it their own interpretation, their own use for our music. Some people use it to work out, some people use it to cry, some people use it to laugh, so it's great. The greatness of music is that is everybody can feel it in their own personal way. But overall for us that song is especially when you're stuck in the moment, and in the meantime you're thinking, you're losing time, overthinking over, life goes on, and you're not never gonna get that time back in your life.
Yeah, I'm really big into lyrics and I'm one of those people that like to analyze them and stuff. Like my friend Sarah and I really love the song Our Truth. And
Yeah.
what was that like? Because we just really love that song. We just anything in particular you could tell us about that?
If I remember correctly, because it's been a while, I think that moment it was after Comalize, we were doing Karma Code, the next record, and Kamala has been very, very successful. So there was a lot of pressure around the band because everybody wants us to get it with this management, with this, try to sell us bigger and bigger. And we felt this pressure was not good for us, because it was confusing us and not giving us a clear view where we should go musically, try to influence us go in different directions. So we kind of wanted to say this is what we want to do, and this is our truth, this is our version of Lacuna Coil, our vision of what we want from our music, and we don't want anything else to come inside this sphere, And then in the video we also have a globe, like a snow globe, because we were protecting our own idea, our own style with from the influences from the outside, and that was a little bit of the meaning. Then obviously sometimes we also put some more personal phrases inside that are, but as I say, we also try to write it in a way that everybody can understand, it's not too cryptic, into our own personal experience.
Oh, that's awesome. So, what is your personal definition of success? Like just in general, and what does it mean to you? Not like in a monetary type of way, just like success to you. Like what is that to you?
I think the biggest there's a personal success is the fact that we could have lived our life the way we want, travel the world, get to know a lot of people, other cultures, being in place we never even thought about, and being able to live with something that gives you satisfaction, that gives you permission to be creative, get your influence, and bring them out to other people. But the most important thing of the success of the band, I think, is the relationship with the fans, the legacy that has been created in the career of the band with the people, with the way they've been living our music, reacting to our music, and the legacy is what is stay beyond the money you could have made, the hotel you could have been, the swimming pool, the cars, whatever you could have bought. The legacy with the fans is the most important thing. And I think very often a lot of bands forget about this legacy. I see bands like, for example, Guns N' Roses, that they struggle to stay together. Now, okay, they're back and blah, blah, but they had many years separated because they couldn't get along, But I think the music of Guns N' Roses and the legacies they've created with the fans is much bigger than any ego, than any money, than discussion, than any, and that you understand only with the passing of time, I think, and what is going to be left of Guns N' Roses, of Lacuna Coil, in different levels, obviously, but it is going to be this relationship, the influence you had on the life of people, the fact that they can go back and listen to a song from 20 years ago and still enjoy, still remember what happened to their life in that moment, in history. So that's the most important thing. And a lot of bands forget about this, forget about, put a lot of smaller things that are bullshit, even if it's talking about a lot of money or success, but it's nothing as much as the mark, what when you're gonna be dead, the mark you left on other people is what is gonna be surviving.
Yeah, because essentially you're like music and arts, that is a way to, immortalize yourself forever because it lives on long after we're here. And that's very important. I love that you said that about the legacy because it's absolutely true.
And I think a lot of bands, even huge bands, they don't remember that, even the Beatles, what I mean, I say
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses just to say a name, but there's so many great bands, and the inspiration they are given to other people is the most important thing.
So if you could go back in time, last question, and tell yourself anything, having the knowledge on your life's journey, what would you tell yourself back then? Just like
Get a
having the
lawyer.
insight. What was that?
Get a get a lawyer. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, everything that has happened to us has been in our career, in terms of musical career, has been beyond any expectation, especially coming from Milan, Italy, which is not really known for rock and roll history. So we never even thought that was possible to have a career this long, being an international touring band. So we never, everything that has happened has taught us something that we couldn't have learned in any other way, so it would be impossible to change it and have the same history. So there's nothing we have done on purpose to make something bad or wrong. So we don't have to regret anything, I think. It's just the way our life has been, and we're really proud of what we have achieved and what we've done. You can always have done maybe something better, but there's no way to find out if it was better this way or the other way. So there's nothing we're really regretting. Most of the things we've done, we enjoy it and has brought us in places we've never even thought about it.
and any musician starting out now, what would you tell them to keep them motivated?
Yeah, it's always hard because obviously the way we have pursued our career, it doesn't exist anymore, because we grew up in the end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s, and the world was a different place. The
Absolutely.
record industry was a different thing. The way we establish our name doesn't exist anymore. There's no more music magazine. TV, MTV, radios are important, but not as important. So everything has switched to a digital, switched to a different lifestyle. So what I can say, it's really important that you develop your own style, more than how good you are at playing or how good your look is, how great your look is. I think it's important that you develop your own personality as a musician, even if you play a style that already exists. You want to do metalcore, then do metalcore, but do your style of metalcore and understand what is the cliche of your band, what your band is about, what's your message. You want to talk about food, talk about food. You want to talk anything you do, but be the one thing you want to do, you want to be. And it's the most difficult thing for bands is to find their direction as a band. I think we're lucky that we grew up in a time where we could have like at least three records before we've been able to develop the totally personal style and and be unique. So nowadays it's harder because you're much faster into learning, but it's also not so many possibilities of have a second chance. So you have to make a great impression right away. So it's very important that you work in the practice room and find your style musically and also in the lyrics, in the message you want to send out, in the image you want to portray. It's very important that you have the full thing clear, but it's not easy.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for talking with me today. I don't really have anything else to ask, but if you have anything that you want to say,
I
any,
can say stay tuned on lacunacoil.com. You see all the shows coming up or the news. So we have a video coming out very soon for the song I Wish You Were Dead, which is pretty fun, black humor style video. So check it out and we'll see you on the road.
Right. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.